hope that what I share with you today is interesting and informative and even possibly inspirational. As introduced, my name is John McCullough, and I'm a member of the senior leadership team at James Avery, and I serve currently as the CEO. I've been with the company for about 18 years, as Robin indicated, in a variety of roles, mostly on what we call the customer or consumer side of our business. We're a manufacturer, and then we also have retail store presence. Most of my experience, most of the roles I had at James Avery have been the consumer-facing side of our business. And I've been a customer for probably 48 years. I can actually remember the first piece of James Avery jewelry that I ever got. I was probably 8 or 9 years old, and it was for Easter. And I remember my mom and dad taking my brother and sister and I to a local, I think, Christian bookstore here in the Houston area. We lived in Houston at the time. And for Easter, we were able to pick out something. And I picked out the small nails head cross. And interesting enough, that thing is still in the line today. It's an active design, being sold very well. But growing up, James Avery has always been kind of part of my family's life. So having grown up with the brand back in 2006, when I had the opportunity to be considered for a role, I was very excited about the prospect of that. At the time, my wife and I and our family, I had 3 children, were living in Washington State at the time. I was there for professional reasons. And so this opportunity with James Avery was an opportunity for us to return to Texas. My wife and I are both native Texans, and so we were going to be able to return home and have our kids grow up closer to their grandparents and their cousins. And professionally, I was going to get the opportunity to work with this amazing brand. I felt it had so much potential, that was interested in growing, and had such amazing customer loyalty. I'm a marketer, I'm a retailer, and so those were very attractive attributes of professional opportunity. Kerrville's a wonderful place to raise a family. If any of you have ever traveled there, you might sense that when you come to the community. I knew it was going to be good, but I had no idea, just living in that community, how good it was going to be for me and my family, but also just being part of the James Avery family of associates, how enriching it was going to be for me. So today, I'm going to start off first quickly with just talking a little bit about the company operations. So we were founded in 1954 in the garage that you see on this slide. In fact, August 16th, just a few weeks ago, we had our 70th anniversary. I don't know how Mr. Avery blogged that particular day, but I read recently in a speech that he had given back in 2004, that August 16th was the day. So happy birthday to us, 70 years. That's awesome. So Mr. Avery set up and shop, literally, in his mother-in-law's garage. He began with about $250 in capital and 3 kind of pretty humble goals, I think, at the time. He wanted to do something that he loved, he wanted to work with his hands, and he simply wanted to provide for his family. And I know that he had no idea of what that little garage startup would become and how many people it might impact. So today we have about 130 stores, we have a thriving website, and we're sold in about 300 locations through some of our wholesale partners nationally. And I would say most importantly, those are important numbers, but most importantly, we have about a staff of about 46 associate field. We are vertically integrated, which is just a fancy way to say that we design, make, and sell the jewelry. And to give you context of the size, we will make and sell about 7 million pieces of jewelry this year on an annual basis. Our mission is to celebrate life through the beauty of design, and our hope is that each piece of jewelry that we craft is made even more beautiful because of the personal meaning that it holds. Whenever I meet people, and this has happened in the last 24 hours as I've met many new people, whenever I meet people and they find out that I work for James Avery, if they're familiar with the brand, and they're not always familiar with the brand, but if they're familiar with the brand, oftentimes 2 things happen. One, they smile, which is awesome. I'm a marketer, and to get that type of an emotional reaction from someone when they find out who you work for, it's a pretty special thing, and I don't take it for granted. And then they start to tell me a story many times about a piece of jewelry that they own, or that they may have gifted to someone. And the jewelry also often has deep meaning for the person that's wearing it or giving it. It may represent an important relationship, their faith, a special memory, hardship or obstacle that they may have overcome. But there's a very strong emotional connection to the jewelry, and also many times a strong connection to the brand. And as I said, I've worked in retail and apparel and wholesale my entire adult life, and I've never been part of a company nor have I seen a brand have such a strong emotional connection with its customers. We're very blessed and we're very grateful for that. So you can imagine that there's a deep sense of pride across the organization, from the designers to the craftspeople to our retail associates and to all the supporting departments, because they know that the work that they're doing brings such deep meaning to the customers. So next I'd like to share a brief video that tells a little bit more about us. It's going to show you our corporate campus in Kerrville, which is beautiful. And it starts out with the words of Mr. Avery, James Avery, our founder, and then transitions to Chris Avery, and Chris's niece, Lindsay Avery, tagging in. Chris is one of Mr. Avery's son, and he was our CEO until he retired in 2019. He had been with the company for 27 years, and he's currently our chairman of the board. We have a board of director of about 10. He is the only Avery family member that's on the board. The rest are all outside board members. And we have a great board. I'm very blessed as a CEO to have such amazing resources to help me. Lindsay works in our merchandising and design group and is the only third generation Avery family member currently.
I didn't start out, with that intent to do something great in my lifetime and become a company the size we are today. I just started out day by day.
Many times people would ask Dad in his later years of his life, he said, Mr. Avery, did you ever envision the company getting to this point? And he'd go, shoot, no, I didn't. He goes, when I started out, I just wanted to do something I love doing, work with my hands, and being able to provide a living for my family.
He definitely was a visionary, but I don't know if he saw this, that he could have even pictured, and I know he would be proud.
Well, one of the things, I remember this office very well. This building was built in 1968, so my dad was in this office for 45 years. I can remember him coming in as a teenager and watching him work. I'd look over his shoulder and he'd show me stuff he was working on. He'd draw it at his desk here. A lot of designs for the company came out of this office and that little workshop over the years. I love these Contera columns here that Dad brought in many years ago because he wanted to tie all these buildings together as part of this campus. And these were from Mexico. We love the Mexican architecture and Mexican culture, and I think this is just a great design element to tie this campus together.
So I love this space, our design center. Our designers all work here in such a collaborative environment. I know my granddad made this space so that it could be, an open workspace and everybody could work together. And just the beauty of the building, he was really focused on that as well. We talked about his love of architecture, and this building is such a good testament to how much he loved that. So this space is just, one of our favorite on campus.
For years, we were able to take people through our manufacturing plants,
right,
and give them tours, and Dad loved that because, again, the personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
Customers could come up when we're small enough where they go through and see the people making the jewelry and hammering and bending wire and making rings and soldering, all the things you get to do. And that was something that was really cool for customers to see. But as we got larger, that really wasn't feasible. So we wanted to do something where customers could come and at least get an idea of how jewelry is made from start to finish. So this visitor center was created for that purpose and to kind of honor Dad's legacy and to showcase some of the very personal things, as well as how the jewelry is made. I think it's an amazing culture. I think we're very fortunate to have the people we have, and I think Dad really fostered a culture when he started out where he genuinely cared about people.
Avery's has been the only company that I've ever worked for. I think that the way that they treat their employees and give us the opportunities to grow within the company is what's kept us there.
The way everyone talked to each other was just like family. Everyone just got along so well. It didn't seem like they were just co-workers. And the way my parents would talk about work, both of them working there, like people cared about each other.
There's a sense of pride working here, but there's employees 30, 40 years, generations of families, and the immense level of pride and loyalty that they have. We talk about integrating, the new and the old. Technology is great, but there's these processes that we've been using for decades. So integrating those and being okay with a little bit of change, but also staying true to the foundation of the company.
We were so glad when you decided to come on board, because I just felt like you had all the values that were important to continue on the family name of this company. I felt like you had a real love for it and a special bond.
I think as we grow, just that all of the leaders continue our commitment to what we've been doing, which is looking out for our employees and what's best for them. I would hate to see us grow and lose the foundation of who we are, what my granddad started the company on, and I think that's the biggest thing. And all of our leaders are so focused on that. We hire people that have that same sense of commitment to looking out for the employees' best interest. And then if we've done that, I can say that we've done a good job.
So shown in the video, our main corporate campus is located in Kerrville, Texas. It's a beautiful 40-acre campus that houses most of our corporate departments. We have design and merchandising there, product development, all of our supply chain operations, distribution, accounting, finance, legal, real estate and development, marketing and creative services, and visual merchandising. And our corporate campus today is just down the street from the garage that Mr. Avery started the business in. I think the beauty of our campus is an amazing backdrop and inspiration for our design and creative teams. In addition to our location in Kerrville, we also have a regional office in the Austin Cedar Park area, and it houses our retail operations team, primarily because of the centrality of where Austin is for all of our retail stores, and then also for our IT development team. And we've had trouble getting IT development resources to move to Kerrville. And so we put our stake in the ground about 10 or 15 years ago, and it's been a game changer for us in order to be able to keep the business growing and evolving and transforming the way that we needed it to. And there's a very beautiful store in that building. I think it's amazing that the jewelry that we craft is crafted here in the U.S. And I would even say, more importantly, crafted in the great state of Texas. I think we all have Texas pride, right? And I can't think really of any other organization that probably is doing it at the size and scale that we are. Mr. Avery's introduction to Texas, he was originally from the Midwest. He grew up in Detroit, Chicago area. He went to the University of Illinois. So his first introduction to Texas came when he was training after joining the Army Air Corps, the World War II. And he was impressed, and he said this in a speech, that he was impressed with the warmth, the gracious hospitality, and the can-do attitude of Texans. And I'm certainly biased, I'm a native Texan, but I would agree with his assessment. So today we have 5 locations in the Texas Hill Country and Gulf Coast where we craft the jewelry that we sell. And as I mentioned earlier, we will make about 7 million pieces this year, and we have about 1,000 people who craft jewelry for us. This is the facility that Rob was talking about that got to go on the tour about a year ago. This is what we call our Kerrville Artisan Center. It's our largest crafting facility, and it sits on about 30 acres of beautiful riverfront property in Kerrville. It's above the floodplain. We didn't make that mistake. We bought the land, we designed it, and we built it the way we wanted it. And we opened it in 2016. It's about 54,000 square feet. To give you some context, that's about the length of a football field, including the land zones. We run 2 shifts in this facility, and it currently has about 350 to 400 craftspeople working in the facility. It's a pretty nice manufacturing facility. As Rob said earlier, if you've been in a manufacturing environment and you come tour this, that might be your assessment too. It doesn't look like what we think a typical manufacturing facility might look like. It's inside, it's air conditioned, and it's quiet, except there might be some music playing. There's a lot of natural light. That was very intentional. Outside, there's walking trails and outdoor picnic tables for the associates to enjoy when they're on lunch or on their break. And you can normally catch some pretty competitive games of ping pong, in cornhole during break or at lunch. I mean, like, people are crazy about their ping pong, like world-class ping pong. And one of the reasons I just want to describe the building in such detail is because I think it really is a great example of Mr. Avery's approach to taking care of his associates. These details I do think matter. And he wanted the workspaces where people worked to be as nice as the customer-facing parts of our business too. And I remember when I joined the company and I worked in retail and other organizations, one of my first thoughts when I went into the back room of one of our stores was, my goodness, these are nice, and there's probably an opportunity to save money here. That's just how I was wired to come in, how many of us are conditioned. But when I started to understand the rationale for why he wanted it that way, I got it. And yes, it's a little more expensive to do it, but it really does make an impact on the attitude and the culture of the associates who are working in that every day. We don't want to treat them any differently than we want to treat our customers. This is a photo of the inside of that facility, and again, it's not the cheapest way to approach building it, but I think it pays dividends in the long run. And it's very consistent with how Mr. Avery approached the business. So I've talked a little bit about the operations of it. Part of that was just to give you a little background and context, and what I'd really like to spend the rest of the time talking about this morning is just telling you about the cultural sides of our organization. And in my opinion, and if you had asked me when I started the company and you asked me 18 years later, I might have had a different answer of what I think the secret of success for the organization might be. But I do believe the culture of our organization is the secret sauce for how our company has been able to do well and succeed. And you may have all heard the saying in business, especially at times when liquidity is in a business is being focused on or important, that cash is king, and I would argue that culture is king also. And that as leaders, we need to look for opportunities to make sure that we emphasize that as much. Whenever we interview leaders to join our team, the first assessment of their candidacy, like any normal way you would approach it, is just, do they have the basic skills to do the job that we're going to ask them to do? Have they done that? Do they have experience doing that? Do they have the educational background or the certification that might be necessary to do the job? That's really just table stakes. That's entry point of just being considered, where we really try to spend a lot of time. And I've really seen the benefit of focusing on this in the last probably 5 to 8 years as my role has changed in the organization, is really focusing on making sure that the cultural fit is there. And I can't stress that enough about what I think our roles as leaders is making sure that we're trying to be intentional about that. It can be hard to do, and quite honestly, I think the best way to do it is you just got to spend a lot of time with the candidates that you're considering. Just recognize the importance of their impact to the organization. And if it's wrong, it's painful. It affects a lot of people. It's painful to get make those changes. But if it's right, you really can leverage the value that they bring to the organization. So one of the things, simple ways I tell it when I talk to candidates is at James Avery, we care a lot about how we do the work that we do. It really is about, again, how we choose to work with one another. So here's my plug for Alan Austin, one of the sponsors of the breakfast this morning. Many of you may have seen us if you're familiar with some of the great work that Rob and his team have done. This is Alan Austin's 9 principles for a culture of peak performance. And I'm not going to go into all of these. Rob and I were visiting about this, and he said, John, think of it as like a checklist. It's a framework, one that can be used to assess or take inventory of what is or what may not be working well within your organization. And while I'm certainly biased and very insulated because I've been with the company for 18 years, I actually think at James Avery we do a pretty good job on pretty much all of these 9 principles. There's always room for improvement. I don't want to be blind to that. But I put 3 smiley faces next to the 3 of the principles that really resonated with me when I thought about these and looked at these, and I think align nicely with James Avery. So I'm going to first talk about purpose. And these are the words of James Avery, our founder. He said, this company exists as a statement of belief that life is good, has purpose, and fulfillment. It exists that it might help others, to fill a need, to find meaning in life, to offer to others its personal expressions of the goodness of life, and to provide continuing opportunities to others to work in dignity that they may find their lives enriched and worthwhile. It's a great, great statement of purpose. And I love the fact that he used and said the words enrich lives and help others. So I thought about this and I said, what do I think this means? And I think it means, for us, it means we make more than just jewelry. Jewelry is what we sell, but really, what are we doing? And I think what we try to do is try to make a difference in people's lives. And for our customers, this means designing and crafting quality pieces that are worthy of their personal memory, stories, and faith. And we hope that every ring, bracelet, necklace, and charm that we choose, that they choose, makes them smile when they see it, helps them remember a special moment, or simply expresses their own personality. For our associates, it means offering them more than just a place to make a living. It means providing them a working environment that empowers them to do the inspiring things that they do every day. And it's the reason I think a lot of our associates call James Avery home for decades at a time. Our co-workers are our friends, and in many cases, family in the truest sense of the word. We have a lot of multi-generational associates within our employee base. And for the communities where we live, it means giving and sharing, whether it's donating financially, volunteering, or simply being a good steward. The goal is to help our neighbors and to always strive to do the right thing. A few years ago, we were working on a project with an outside branding agency. And during that project, we did some work where we reached out to some of our customers and we were interested in them describing the brand. James Avery, what does the brand mean to them? How would they describe the brand? And you see a word cloud here of some of the responses, and the larger the word, it means the more frequently it was mentioned. And for me, it warms my heart that words like caring and service and artistic and creative were mentioned. And I know that Mr. Avery would be proud, and the rest of the associates, family would also be proud. And as part of that same project, we also asked our internal associates, how would you describe the company? How would you describe the brand? And certainly one of the goals that we hoped would happen, or one of the things we were looking for, is that there would be alignment between how the customers might describe you and how your associate family might describe you. And there was a lot of common ways that they were described. I love that caring is one of the words that jumps out in both the ways the customers were doing that, we're describing the brand and the company, and also our associates. And I've often heard people internally describe the company as caring. And I think Mr. Avery was very caring. So this is the kind of stuff that Rob loves, right? Core values. And it's really, really important. And if you asked me when I was 28, I don't know if I would have said it's really important, but I am a believer. And I do think it's important, and I think in my role, being the keeper of the core values and trying to beat that drum is an important thing for me in my role. So in 2018, approximately 64 years after we had been in business, we thought it might be important to go ahead and codify some of our core values. At the time, Chris was starting to think about the details of his transition out of the CEO role. And so, as the founder or the son of the founder-led organization, we thought it would be good to go ahead and codify these. So the core values that we codified were commitment, which we describe as the persistence in the achievement of goals, even in spite of barriers and difficulties. Creativity, which is originality and the ability to generate ideas and innovative solutions. Quality, excellence in everything we do. Graciousness, and I love this one, fostering a person-focused environment. Teamwork, working together across departments and on every level of the company to accomplish the goals and objectives. Support, helping our teammates through cooperation and communication to be the best that they can be. And at the center of this, the most important core value is integrity, doing it all with integrity. To me, this work was really, really helpful on a couple of fronts. First, it gave us a way to express what we felt made us unique, and also really be clear about what our expectations were. I think you have to be clear about, to be part of this family of associates, what are our expectations? And if you're aligned with this, it's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be a great relationship. And if you're misaligned, it's probably not gonna be a great relationship. I think it's important to have that. The other thing that we were able to do from it is we started incorporating it into our hiring process. We started looking for ways that we could have candidates describe how they might have examples in their work history where they exhibited some of this behavior. And we also started incorporating it into our annual review process for associates. It's not, there's two components to the review, and this is just one of it, but how we work together is important because we really see the benefits of that. Show a short video that features one of our customers talking about the impact of James Avery kind of generationally on his family.
When you think about a father's role, especially the two boys, the first thing that you realize is you have a responsibility. You want to grow them into young men who are faith-based and who are respectful and who can potentially make a difference in people's lives. I was very lucky to grow up in a healthy family atmosphere. My father was a strong, faith-based guy, and I watched him be a leader in the family. I watched him and my mother have a dating life. I think that was one of the most important things he and I ever talked about, was that the health of the family starts with the health of the relationship between the parents. The story of James Avery starts when I was really young. And I remember that whenever a special occasion came up, my mother was probably going to go to the James Avery store and pick up something. It shouldn't surprise me that when my 16th birthday came around, my parents had decided to buy me my first piece of James Avery jewelry, which is the signature ring. And it's been worn ever since. I had it on the day that I met my future wife. I had it on my wedding. Back in high school, lots of opportunities to get in trouble. When the game's over with and you put it back on again, it just kind of puts your mind and your heart in line with what's going to be expected of you and how you should act. Keeping your fingers on the fins to kind of remind yourself what this means. I wasn't the guy at the parties. I think that this was a big part of why I did most of my speaking on the field. I remember sometime in his first year, I was holding Nathan and he reached up and he grabbed my ring and he kind of latched onto it. And my wife said something like, you know, Nathan really loves your ring. And I said, well, maybe when he's 16, we'll get him one too. And we started talking about maybe that's going to be our own, you know, lucky family tradition. Next thing you know, we blinked and Nathan turned 16. And then 2 years later, you know, Jordan turned 16 and we buy him an Ichthus ring too. I can remember the first time that all three of us were together, we all three had our rings. This was going to be something that always would bond the three of us together.
So thinking about enriching lives, Mr. Avery again wanted to provide opportunities to the associates and craftspeople that were part of our team. If you think about what I said at the beginning of our presentation, you know, he wanted to do something that he loved, he wanted to work with his hands, and he wanted to provide for his family. And I think it's great that in many small and medium-sized, mostly rural communities within Texas, where we craft jewelry, we can offer artisans that same opportunity to work with their hands and provide for their families. So currently we have about 1,000 associate artisans making jewelry. You don't have to have any experience being a jeweler. We will train you how to make jewelry. And as people acquire more skills, they can advance further. We offer 401k, health benefits, wellness benefits. And what was unique, I thought, at all levels of the organization was the profit sharing bonus. Mr. Avery believed very deeply in saying, I am going to give to those who have created this for everyone. And so he took care of those associates first, and that profit sharing program has been in place for many, many decades. And we're pretty consistent in being able to do it. Some years are better than others, like any business might have. But I would say very consistently, I've been there 18 years, and we have paid a profit sharing bonus component to the compensation every year. And it can be a pretty meaningful part of someone's annual compensation. We also have a scholarship program for associates and their dependents. And we're very blessed with some very long-standing associates. On the left-hand side is an image from last year's service award dinner, and you can see some of the milestones. To get invited to the dinner, you had to have hit recently a 5-year mark, you know, so you're 15 to get in the door, and then if you're 20 or you're 25, 30, 35, you get invited to the dinner. So there are lots of people who have 42 years that end up being here, 38 years. But it's a pretty extensive list. That's one of the things I was always impressed. And this is probably one of my favorite events of the year, is to be able to celebrate their service with them. The lady that you see on the left, her name is Lynette Coleman, and Lynette was receiving her 45-year service award last year. And she had told us, as we were getting ready for this recognition ceremony, that she had this quilt that she had made. She actually did it during COVID. We had to furlough everybody for a little bit. She took out all of these t-shirts, these milestone t-shirts that she had collected over the years and made them into a quilt. So we wanted to share that with everybody at that service award ceremony. So in this final video that I'm going to share with you, you're going to hear some long-term associates share their thoughts on the company.
My name is Alicia Falcon.
Adrian Falcon.
I'm Lela Escamilla.
Reyes Camilla.
My name is Lucy Welke.
Shane Welge.
My name is Marie Morales.
My name is Terry Orgona.
My name is Romeo Dominguez. I have worked for the company for 47 years,
41 years.
16 years.
22 years,
18 years.
6 years.
12 years. For 44 years.
That's a long time. Everybody always asks, what, did you all start when you were 10?
At first, I thought we were unusual because my mom and my dad worked there and Shane worked there. But as I started to know more people, there's been some families that have been working here forever.
Our family is a 3-generation working for the company. It started with our moms, us, and our children, and we added up all the years together, and it came out to 354 years.
I think last night I was doing the math, and in between all 4 of us, we have 74 years.
Well, I just always heard how Mr. Avery would take care of his employees very well.
He was very nice and very polite. His sons were the same.
and I think that, it's more than just being part of the company, it's being part of the family.
He was always telling us how, we needed to have pride in the product that we had, because it, not only did it have his name on it, but our name was on it too. I just pray that I can be as generous and as caring with the little that I have, as he was with everything he had.
This company is a good company for you, and you can achieve if you really try.
They want us to be successful in our roles, in whatever roles we're going to take in the future.
If you're willing to work and learn, and you never stop really learning and working as the company grows, and that's what I like about it. I come in every day, how can we do things better?
I'm getting close to my retirement age, and I tell myself I want to retire from James Avery. I don't know what I would do without this company.
I'd love to continue working there and continue helping people. Like I said, 16 years, it seemed like just yesterday, so I feel like I have, 30 more ahead of me.
I just can't believe that it's been 43 years that we've been there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it for anything.
No.
I think that the way that they treat their employees and give us the opportunities to grow within the company is what's kept us there, because they treat their employees very well, very well.
So as we approach kind of the end of my time this morning, I wanted to share a story about helping others and impacting communities. And I want to encourage you as leaders to give yourselves permission sometimes to make your decisions more from the heart than the head. That's probably one of the things I've had to learn as I've gotten further along in my career, is look for those opportunities where you may not think about the P&L impact of something, you just do it because you think it's the right thing to do, and that other stuff takes care of itself. So the example that I'm going to share with you is back in 2017, Chris Avery, Paul Zip, who's currently our COO, he was CFO at the time, and myself were in our office in Kerrville discussing the devastating impact of Hurricane Harvey and the impact to Houston and to the Gulf Coast of Texas. Now we offer assistance to our associates. We have a program where if they need help, we will offer them help to the degree that we can. And we also support, relief agencies like Red Cross and Salvation Army. So we have those programs and mechanisms in place. But we were looking for a way to do more. And this hurricane had hit. I'm preaching to the choir here. It impacted you all, I'm sure, but it probably it affected us a little more because of so many people that affected that we knew and that were impacted. And so we were discussing the concept of what if we were to sell an item and donate 100% of the proceeds of that for a certain amount of time. And so, and I want to stress 100% of the proceeds, not 100% of the profit or a percentage of the sales, not while supplies last, but we made a commitment for a time that we would offer it for 30 days and we would donate 100% of the sales. This is where we were managing from our heart and not our head. We didn't understand maybe what the impact of that might be. So we had an item in the line, you see it featured here on the right-hand side of the screen. It's called Deep in the Heart of Texas. It was part of our active line. It's a really good seller for us. And because it was the relief efforts would be focused on Texas, we thought Deep in the Heart of Texas, Texas Strong, this would be a great item that would resonate with our customers and was appropriate for this idea. So we looked at our current on hand. How much inventory do we have on hand? Are we going to be in a position to be able to meet the demand that might exist? And the current on hand that we had of that item looked like it represented about 4 to 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks of selling at the normal rate. So, yeah, you can guess more to come here. So we got the word out really quickly, very quickly. Like this was really, us discussing this in the morning. I think by the time I went home that afternoon, that evening, we had communicated it on social media that we were doing this. We had sent out an email. We had a banner on our homepage of our website. We had notified our stores. And then it was a bit of a what have we done moment. At about 7 p.m. when I have access to Google Analytics, which is how I can look at website traffic and sales on my phone. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but I was looking at the amount of just traffic that was happening, and it was unreal. So within the first 24 hours, we made 3.7 million impressions on where we had put this, social media, email, etc. News stations had picked it up. I mean, it had gone viral. And I think we got 240,000 likes, comments, and shares through social media. So needless to say, we sold out what we thought might last 6 weeks. It could cover us through this entire event. We sold out by the end of the first day. I think there's a commercial that happened many years ago where like, you see this e-commerce activity going on. Like, oh no, what have we done? What a great problem to have. And for a vertically integrated company that can respond to this type of unusual change in demand, if anybody was well positioned to seize the moment, we were in that position. And we were very fortunate in that our customers were so gracious. I mean, a lot of people might have expected that we're going to deliver this within 3 days, normal shipping time to fulfill an order. And we said, this has exceeded our expectations, and we are going to fulfill our commitment, and we are going to continue to do this, but we just need your patience. And then this engine of being vertically integrated and the flywheel of what we have within our organization, really, I saw the power of vertical integration, because we were able to leverage our agility, change our priorities, and react to them. And we did. And what was probably the most emotionally gratifying aspect of all of it was just to see how everyone within the organization rallied behind, this initiative. Everybody had people they probably knew that were impacted by the storm, and we all were looking for ways to help. Right? We want to do something. And so this really gave people an opportunity to kind of get behind something. And so we had thermometers that would measure how fast we were catching it up, and it was just this constant focus across the organization. And the orders just kept coming in. It wasn't like we stopped at that day. I mean, the orders kept coming. The virility of this continued to happen. So we were very fortunate, very blessed to be able to sell 46,000 trunks. Again, we thought we might sell 6,000, 5,000. And we were able to make a donation of $1 million. Mr. Avery is asked in the latter part of his life, and again, he had no aspirations of what the company would ultimately become when he started it. When asked about the company's level of success, he replied, "It's because of our dedicated people and having a vision and commitment to do something meaningful and worthwhile for others. And you just keep focused on a simple statement." So I'm going to wrap things up. I believe organizations are complex. I think the processes that we use are complex. I think people are complex. And I think we have sometimes a tendency to overcomplicate things. And one of the things I think that I try to do in my role is try to simplify things, look for things, and add simplification to complex situations. And so if I were to try to simply state what I think our approach to leadership is, take care of the people, and the people are going to take care of the business. Pretty simple. And I see that in the foundation that the Avery family laid for us and what we continue to try to do as a leadership team. So some bonus, I don't know if you can read this back there. Some leadership thoughts. I'm about to turn 57 next week or so, and if I were to give myself advice at 25, it would be different advice than when I thought at 25 I might want to hear. But I thought I'd share some things, and some of these ideas are clearly not original, they're not my own, they're things that I picked up along the way. First, be nice and hire nice people who genuinely care about serving others. Two, the next one, look for opportunities to surprise and delight your customers and your family and associates. The next one, surround yourself with good people, be a resource for them, a sounding board, a coach, an advisor, but empower them. They will do amazing things with your support if you empower them. Listen well, remain open to others' ideas, keep emotions in control. Be honest and straightforward, yet tactful. Treat others with respect and consideration, regardless of their status or position, and grow them. Be approachable, friendly, and good-natured. And be sincere, real, not superficial. So by now you might have guessed I love a good quote. I'm going to share one of my favorites. I have this taped to the bottom of my computer screen at the office. It's from Warren Buffett. And it says, surround yourself with people who push you to do better. No drama or negativity. Just higher goals and higher motivation. Good times and positive energy. No jealousy or hate. Simply bringing out the absolute best in each other. I think that's a great reminder for us as leaders. So in closing, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to visit with you and share a little about a company that I love very much. If you're a customer of ours or your family's been a customer of ours, thank you very much. We really appreciate being able to be part of your life. And if you're not a customer of ours, we have over 30 locations in the Houston area. And I'm sure there's one near you. And if you're ever in Kerrville, you have an open invitation. I'd love to give you a tour of what we do. Rob can help manage that communication. And thank you again for the opportunity.